our TNA Slammiversary preview. So Jordynne Grace did an interview with Justin Barrasso from Sports Illustrated, and she was teasing big surprises coming to Slammiversary. And she said that nobody does surprises better than NXT and TNA. So what are we thinking these surprises could be? And does TNA and NXT do better surprises than any professional wrestling company in the entire world?
I think that might be strong.
Is it possible that Jordynne was just like being a promoter?
Yeah, full promoter. It's like when you'd hear like JR on some random AEW thing and be like, "Oh, that's the damnedest thing I've ever seen." I'm like, no, it's not.
Like, it's the damnedest thing you've ever seen since the last damn thing you've ever seen. So.
Yeah. But I don't know if they do the best surprises, but I wish I could name some random NXT wrestler to show up. I can't. I think Izzy Dame showed up recently.
Izzy Dame was on last week. Yeah. And again, so it's so funny because she came out and nobody knew who the hell she was. And no, I did not think that she was a real person. But I think that she is a fine talent. I thought Jordynne Grace is clearly very good. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. so yeah. She can carry, but I think that's why TNA is sending NXT stars to TNA, because like they can work with veteran talent and make them look good. And that's what Jordynne Grace did for Izzy Dame. I don't know that she's going to get that working with Kalani Jordan. I just don't think that that's going to happen. So but she came out, nobody knew who she was. And then the same thing happened for the other girl, Tatum Paxley. She come out on Against All Odds a couple of weeks ago and like came out to like almost silence. So, you know, if they get a big WWE name, a main roster name, okay, well then we're talking, then that's a big surprise. That would be cool.
AJ Styles?
I mean, if it's anybody other than AJ Styles, I don't want to fucking hear about it. To be honest with you. Like, because I've been, you know, he appeared on Slammiversary 2 years ago during the 20th anniversary, but via satellite. Yeah. And I think it's time to get him inside the building, at least, you know, one time.
Isn't Slammiversary sold out?
What's that?
Slammiversary sold out, right?
4,000 people, yeah. They're actually trying to find a way to reconfigure the building so that we can let more people in, because they're expecting a heavy walk-up crowd too.
That's awesome. That's great news. So get AJ on that pay-per-view.
Yeah, dude, this is this Slammiversary. It's going to be I don't know about pay-per-view buys, because Hard to Kill was the biggest one that they ever did. I don't think they're going to get to that, because you know they're talking like way over 60,000. But as far as like a live event and tickets sold, it's the biggest event they've done in a decade.
That's awesome for them. You know, like I know a lot of people kind of like to crap on TNA, especially after they made this deal with WWE. But listen, wrestling's healthy when people are selling tickets. Yeah. It all comes down to tickets in my brain, because I think it's because I watch a lot of Japanese wrestling, and like that's their business still. But like, hey, sold out 4,000 plus. I'll take that. You know, all to see Ash by Elegance win a title, which you know, in
the semi-main. So before we get to the match by match, Moose was actually on an interview earlier this week, and he said that he feels that the partnership between TNA and NXT has been better for them than the one that they had with AEW. And AEW fans are so sensitive, man. They are really upset about that. They're so mad about that. Like, what's like? Why would they be mad?
They heard Izzy Dame better than Kenny Omega. That's what they heard.
Yeah, that's exactly what they heard. Not that them being on like their stars getting on WWE TV is getting them more exposure than they've had before. Right. Because TNA talents, other than the Good Brothers, they didn't go to AEW. And if they did, they were being signed by AEW, Deonna Purrazzo and Big Bill, right? So like they didn't actually get a chance to go over on Dynamite and be mixed up and be featured on their shows the way that Jordynne Grace, Joe Hendry, and now the Rascals have done. And I think we're going to see more of that. So that's why they're saying it. So he's saying it for two reasons. The first reason being they're able to go over there, which is what they want. I don't think sending NXT talent to TNA isn't really doing much for TNA, but sending TNA talent to NXT is doing a lot for TNA, right? So that's what they're saying. It's a completely different situation because Kenny Omega came to TNA and had an amazing run. Unfortunately, it didn't end the way everybody wanted it to, but he was able to pop at least one pay-per-view number, and he had a couple good ratings episodes. For the most part, didn't make a long-term difference, and I think a lot of that had to do with more of the faults in TNA than it had anything to do with Kenny Omega, right? Okay, so I think we can all be honest about that. But the way that they're looking at it is that their talent is becoming more famous by being able to go be featured on WWE television, being in the Royal Rumble, being on NXT. And I think that's absolutely true because they just didn't get to do that in AEW. They just, when they had the AEW partnership, they didn't. And I think it's okay to say that. I think it's fair to say that. And I don't think that's not a slight on AEW at all.
I was going to ask you, like, what is your take on it? Because as someone that, like yourself, who has covered TNA for as long as you have, I do think it's like very unique, the relationship they have here. But like, I see the Rascals and Wes Lee on this Slammiversary card. I'm like, that rocks. You know, like if you want to listen, for every Izzy Dame and every Noah Star, Tavian Heights, for, you know, I don't know who Tavian Heights is, but I know that he's 1 on this show and 2 in the N1 Victory tournament. For every one of them, though, if you get a Wes Lee while also getting exposure with the Joe Hendrys and the Jordynne Graces, it's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I think it's a good thing.
Well, here's why I prefer the current one over the AEW one. Although at the time, Kenny Omega was absolutely my favorite wrestler. And I would not have this show or this podcast or Brace for Impact. It would not exist if Kenny Omega didn't come over to Impact, because that's why we created it, because of the interest that it generated when Kenny Omega was on the show. Like that, and that's an absolute fact. So I'm always going to hold that in high regard. But I was on every week, and I had to listen to AEW fans complain about the fact that AEW was lowering themselves to working with Impact. And they were constantly saying, what are we getting out of this? What are we getting out of this? And to be honest, Impact was in such a state. It was still pandemic. They had no fans. They were in such a state. They didn't really have any stars that could go over to Dynamite and do much of anything other than they have like really good wrestlers. Like, nobody's saying that Josh Alexander and Eddie Edwards and those guys aren't good wrestlers. They are. And then they had Chris Sabin at the time and all that stuff. They could have went over there and had really good matches, but they weren't. Like AEW, like, only has so much TV time, and they had a loaded up roster. They're not going to be filling it with TNA wrestlers. Unfortunately, the TNA wrestlers. Sorry, go ahead.
At the time, it was just Dynamite, right? Or
it was just, they had no Collision and I think no Rampage, and it was just AEW Dark, like on YouTube. So that's just what they had. So they only had so much TV time. They had a ton of wrestlers, and so they weren't really going to be bringing over TNA talents to be featured on the show. Unfortunately, the only ones that they did feature were the Good Brothers, and the AEW fan base revolted against having them on the show. So they saw that, and they were like, okay, well, we're just not going to feature Impact on the show. And then when we do, we're going to make sure that people know that it's lesser than product. Right. And that's kind of what it was. And then, so that's why I prefer this one, because TNA talent is being featured on WWE TV, and that's helping them out. It's helping build their brands, right? Joe Hendry is a bigger star now than he's ever been before, and a lot of it has to do with the crossover. But not only that, and I said it here last week on this show, and I said it on Brace for Impact, and I'm going to say it again so everybody can understand it. The TNA fans like this, and the NXT fans love this. Everybody's happy. So that I think, like, when I'm doing Brace for Impact, I don't have WWE fans hopping in the chat saying, why are we wasting time with TNA? In fact, they like the fact that TNA stars are on there. And in fact, the TNA wrestlers that are being featured on to NXT are better wrestlers than who NXT's has. Right. Like, so I think that's a mutually beneficial situation. So I really dig what they're doing right now. It's exciting.
It feels like NXT's way of having, I don't want to say like the indie stars, but like the high profile or higher profile quality wrestlers on the brand without having to sign them. Now, like, it's a way for them to save money and give exposure to a company that they don't have a problem with. They don't have a problem with TNA.
And they can also avoid another monopoly lawsuit by saying, hey, look what we did for TNA.
Absolutely, they can.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're
doing. and that's legit. All right, let's go ahead and go to this card. Jan is in the chat. Jan, we're gonna get to you now. Okay, you've popped this one up here a couple of times, so we'll do the main event first. So we have in the main event, we have the TNA World Championship elimination match. We have Moose versus Nick Nemeth versus Maclin versus Josh Alexander versus Joe Hendry versus Frankie Kazarian, Scotty Wrestling. Who do you have winning the match? And those in the chat, go ahead and tell me who you got too.
Okay, I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I don't watch every episode of Impact, but to me, and you can tell me if I'm crazy here, but Joe Hendry feels like the biggest star right now this company has.
By far.
Why would you not make him world champion?
Okay. I have an answer for you. I have an answer for you.
I would like to hear your answer because I am legitimately asking. Before I make my pick, I do want to know, like, why wouldn't you make him?
I think outside looking in, it makes sense that you would have Joe Hendry win this match and become the world champion right now. I think that's absolutely a thing. And if they did that, I wouldn't be too mad about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bound for Glory is coming to the UK.
Oh, okay.
And I think if you're gonna crown Joe Hendry as your world heavyweight champion, I think you save it for the UK because he's a Scottish guy. If they're not in the UK, I did hear maybe like Paris, France being tossed around, but that's just right over the English Channel. I think you could probably get a lot of UK folks over there pretty easily. So I think that's when you do it. And I also don't think you want to crown your biggest star to be the world champion in a six-way match. Yeah. I think that's a waste to do it. Yeah. I think Kazarian fucks him over in the match, and then they do the match with Kazarian, and at the next like TNA Plus special, and then that leads to Bound for Glory, Moose versus Joe Hendry. I think Moose keeps it.
I think that's a good call. So what you're essentially saying is they should do what AEW isn't with Will Ospreay. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying right now?
I think what AEW is doing. No, I think that's a very good point because we had John Muse on the show, and his idea, and I know for a fact that there are people that are very important that actually listen to that episode, and his idea was to not do it this year, but to do the Cody Rhodes thing and build it up for next year. And he can talk about how it was taken away from me. My moment was taken away from me. And now I'm going to fight to get back. And then you do a 1-year build to Will Ospreay winning at Wembley next year. Now, I don't know that they're going to be able to make money at Wembley Stadium next year. It might be Wembley Arena or the O2 Arena or something like that. But I think that next year they'll do it in the UK.
I think it's a good call. I think John Muse would know better than me. He's the booker. Yeah. I am not. So I like that idea. If I looked at the 6-man and you asked me who I wanted to win, I wouldn't pick Moose. But I think your idea here makes too much sense to pass up. If you believe that Bound for Glory, which is the biggest show of the year for TNA, is
they're having trouble locking in a location. So they were supposed to announce it a couple weeks ago, and I heard that there's been a snag, and that's why they haven't announced it yet. I'm hoping they announce it this weekend. And I still hope it's in the UK because I think the UK TNA at one point was like the #1 promotion in the UK. And so they still have a lot of fans that are out there. So I think they could actually do decent business there.
I think it'd be a great plan. And if that is the plan, I'm behind it. I look at a 6-man elimination match. I feel like you shouldn't crown a new champion in those matches to begin with, unless it's like, I guess like an elimination chamber type. But this is just 6-man. Wrestling.
Yeah.
And it should be a good match. I'll say that. Should be a good match. A lot of good wrestlers in this match. But yeah, I think you're right with the Frankie Kazarian screwing Joe Hendry because that's not done yet. We saw it. They brought that over to NXT, like that is something they've really focused on. So I think you're right. If I was to give a wild card pick, like trying to think who would be a good person for Joe Hendry to beat, just toss out like Steve Maclin because I like Steve Maclin.
Yeah. I think Steve Mack is great. I think the one of the guys that's in the match that actually has the experience to get Joe Hendry to the next level and that knows how to work a main event match would probably be Ziggler. I think that he just like his experience level, and he's a better heel than he is a babyface. So I think if he wanted it was a heel, and then he could do the match with Joe Hendry down the road, I think that could work. But look, they haven't even started the build for Moose and Hendry just yet. Right. So I think that's where they go. Go ahead.
This all feels like a chance to elevate him before he ultimately wins the title. So I think you're right.
Yeah.
Between the two brands that he's working.
Yep, absolutely. Stephen Patrick says, I agree. If BFG is in the UK, save Hendry winning the title for then. As over as Hendry's music is in UK, he will sell a lot of tickets. Yeah, I think that that is the case. But Jan wants him to do it now. She says, strike while the iron is hot. Goldberg should have won the Elimination Chamber, but Triple H screwed him, and his backlash meant nothing. So yeah, they pushed that one out a little bit. So, but the Goldberg thing was a little bit different. He was a little bit later in his run, but. But I think that should be interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Moose on that one. All right, semi-main event should be one of the great women's matches of all time: Jordynne Grace versus Trash by Elegance. I hope this match is 3 minutes long and Grace just destroys her because I'm so sick of it.
I feel like Ash is winning, which I hate.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I don't like it either. Nothing would surprise me. I don't expect it, but it wouldn't shock me if they did that, especially now that it's very clear Jordynne Grace come January is going to be property of WWE.
Yeah, which honestly, shocked she isn't already. No offense to TNA. I just think she's very good and has been and fits the type of wrestler they look for, which is like very unique and big time powerhouse. She's great though. Does Natty show up? That's a good shout. That would make sense.
So Natty, Dan's asked, does Natty show up at Slammy? Natty just re-signed with WWE, but they have been teasing a match between the two for a long time. I think that that wouldn't shock me. And Jordynne Grace is the one going out there teasing surprises. It would make sense that she's teasing surprise opponents for herself.
Yeah, I would like if Jordynne Grace retained, but I have much fear that Ash by Elegance is getting this belt, which is so wrong. I have asked for them to push Masha Slamovich as a single star for the past year, and they do not listen.
Yeah, well, I think through necessity they're going to have to, because she's very clearly is like Jordynne Grace is number one, Masha is number two in the company. But Masha has not been able to break through because she was number 3 on the depth chart when Deonna Purrazzo was there, because they just saw those two as bigger stars, even though Masha, I think as far as bell to bell goes, Masha's better than both of them. But I think star quality, I think Jordynne is the biggest star of the three. Masha, let me ask you this question. I really dug Masha's look when she was doing the character from Glow, when she kind of had the mohawk, all that. Now she kind of just looks like a normal, like kind of a punk rock wrestler now, like the hair's down. I think that has hurt her star quality a little bit.
I think that plus her losing like 1 million title matches. I felt like she lost a lot. I thought that look was great. I thought it was very unique. She kind of felt like a killer in many ways. If that is her eventual turn back to a single star, I would not be against it, because like you said, it made her unique. Made her different. She's fantastic in the ring, like that. She's great. She's a great wrestler, but if you can get over with the character side of things as well, I think that'll do a lot of good for her. And like you said, out of necessity, my build mentally would be to Jordynne versus Masha at Bound for Glory. You make a new star with Jordynne going out sooner than later. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I think Jordynne's got to retain here, and then she goes to Bound for Glory, which I want to say, Ayo in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong. You're like an encyclopedia. Wasn't that the match from last year's Bound for Glory? So wasn't that Jordynne Grace versus Masha just last year? I want to say Ayo knows that. He'll know that off the top of his head, I'm sure. But I want to say they've done a pay-per-view match before. And so I think that would be good to kind of bring that back. And then Jordynne puts her over, gracefully, pun intended. And then, so 2 years ago. So it's 2 years ago, Grace and Masha. So I knew I wasn't stupid on that one. I knew that happened. So
2 years is crazy.
And that was a good match too. And so, but I think both are a lot better now. And so they can, they should be able to do that again coming up. All right. Last year was Mickey versus Trinity. That's what it was. But 2 years ago was Jordynne Grace versus Masha. Okay. All right. X Division Championship match. Mustafa Ali versus Speedball Mike Bailey. This is my main event of the evening. This has been the best built match the TNA has done in a long time. If you guys have not seen the build and the different segments that they're doing, Mustafa Ali is doing his best character work that he's ever done in his life. He is making Speedball more interesting than just a guy that does cool kicks and moves. He actually is like a sympathetic babyface going into this. And they're going to be doing it in Montreal, which should be a heated crowd, and Speedball is doing great babyface work. Mustafa Ali is the best heel in the company. I think this match is going to be fantastic. Who do you see winning this one?
You know, I think there's a way to look at both winning here. I think Mustafa Ali makes sense because he's kind of hot right now in terms of where he is in his character work, like you said. He's made this title feel very important in many ways, maybe the top title right now. And Speedball is like the perfect babyface to maybe take him down. You know, we look at these top matches. I feel like one of these three belts are going to change, right? It's got one of the three top belts I feel like will change on this show.
Yeah.
But if Mustafa Ali, if he is signed to a deal, I think it's hard to take it away from him right now. You look at who they got. There's other contenders for him, but if you want the great match of the night, it feels like it'll be this.
I think this is going to be the one that sends the crowd home happy. I think this is going to be where we're looking at 5-boy territory when it comes to like star ratings and all that. I don't do the star ratings, but I know that like if you're a fan of just matches, this is the match for you. And if you're a fan of heat, this is the match for you. And if you're a fan of strong character work, and some people don't like Ali's character, and I'm going to answer King of the North's character or his question right here. Do y'all like this character? I personally like this character for Ali. He is essentially playing Donald Trump. What is kind of weird is what happened on Saturday with Trump. Tonight, Speedball Bailey, they did a whole thing where Speedball Bailey ran the gauntlet, beating up all his Secret Service agents, calling them Secret Service, but they taped it a month ago. So I don't, but right now on Capitol Hill, they're trying to beat up Secret Service agents as well. So I think I do worry that based on the political climate, if they can continue on doing this type of character, because I actually wrote a storyline and I pitched it to John Muse. I was just up late one night for Ali doing this type of character. And in fact, so here's what I want to do. Here's what I want Ali to do. I want Speedball to win because they're in Montreal. And I think you got to give that to him in his hometown. I want Speedball to eventually move up to the heavyweight division, kind of graduate from the X division and kind of go for the heavyweight title. Because I just think he's that good for this company. I don't think he could be the AEW heavyweight champion. I don't think he could be IWGP heavyweight champion, but I think he can be TNA heavyweight champion down the road. Okay. I think he's that good for this company. But here's what I want him to do. I want him to lose clean, and then I want him to come out afterwards and protest and basically try to contest the results of the match, try to have the match overturned. And I want him to threaten Santino and TNA with lawsuits. And then I want him to steal the title from Speedball. And then eventually they have to do a peaceful transition of power ceremony between Speedball and Mustafa Ali. And then eventually, which leads to down the road, another Speedball and Ali match where they finally settle this once and for all. And then Speedball heads to the heavyweight division. I don't think they got that kind of balls though. But if Mike was doing it, yes, hold on. Mike wants him to yell, "Stop the count." Yes, I do. I want him to go for it. I think that's perfect television. But after what happened on Saturday, I don't think you can do stuff like that.
I don't know. Hulk Hogan was just at the thing. I think anything's open.
Yeah, he called Trump Donald Dick J. Trump. I was laughing my ass off of that. That was so funny. I was listening to that on my Sirius radio when I was driving earlier. That's so funny. All right. But yeah, I think Speedball wins that one. All right. The King of the North match of the night: AJ Francis versus PCO. It is for the Digital Media Championship and the International Heavyweight Championship. I mean, probably going to go 60 minutes, I would say. Tons of near falls and kickouts, a lot of cool moves, and leg slaps and the whole deal. I think it should be a barn burner, brother. Who do you got?
AJ Francis.
You think PCO, after selling 4,000 tickets in his hometown, getting boots on the ground, doing all the radio, TV, and press, they have drinks named after him, burgers named after him. You think he's going to lose?
Yeah, because AJ Francis is the heel. That feels very fitting of stopping the guy that did all this work.
That would be a TNA move to do that.
I always called him Top Dollar, by the way. Isn't there 2 titles on the line?
There is the International Heavyweight Championship and the Digital Media Championship. So
okay,
I don't think the match is gonna be very good, but I like the build up to the match because AJ Francis purchased the old Montreal Territory belt, the International Heavyweight Championship that Rick Martel and Dino Bravo and Joe LeDuc and all those guys held back in the day. I'm just a fan of wrestling history. Specifically, I've always been a big fan of Montreal wrestling history, especially after I read the Andre the Giant book written by Pat LaPrade and Bertrand Hébert, I think his name is. So I kind of like that aspect of it, and they're trying to make it, trying to build some heat for Montreal, but I don't think there's a hope in hell that AJ Francis wins this match. It's a PCO all the way.
The AJ Francis post WWE run has been something to witness, that as someone that has not seen a single match of any of it. I say that respectfully.
I do. I think he's probably only had 5 matches in TNA. He's been mainly just doing promos, and I think he's a good heel. He's a good heel, but in the ring is not his strong suit, so they just don't put him in the ring that often.
That's a good call. I remember that. Yeah. That's a very good call. If you can talk and you can't wrestle, you get by.
Well, and he brings like rappers to the show and shit, and he brings like influencers. So he's actually been pretty valuable to the company in that aspect.
And yet you have him losing to PCO.
Yeah. And then I think PCO is going to beat him in like 7 minutes. All right. Let's go to the Knockouts Tag Team Championship match. Masha Slamovich and Alisha Edwards versus SpitFire, which is Danny Luna and Jody Threat. Who do you got in this one, Scotty?
I'm gonna go with keeping the belts on Masha and Alisha.
Okay, yeah, you know what? I could see that. I could see that. I think that's the way they go. Although I do think eventually they have to pull the belts off of them, so that way Masha can challenge for the main championship. But yeah, I mean, they're the only 2 tag teams in the company, so I don't know why there's a division. TNA World Tag Team Championship. The System, Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers versus the ABC. Who do we got in this one?
ABC's breaking up soon, right?
I thought they were for a little bit, and they've kind of rekindled their friendship. It looks like they're back.
Wrestling logic tells me they're actually going to break up finally. Everything's back to normal. You break them up. I've been hoping for these 2 to be world title challengers since I feel like I've been doing it with Ace Austin for like 5 years now. Yeah. He's always been the guy that I've watched in TNA. Is like this guy's super talented. Like, why are you not going with him? I would like if they're not going to win the belts back, break them up. Let them go be guys. Have them have a rivalry, which would be interesting. Maybe brings them to Bound for Glory and just see where it goes. I think they're 2 of the most talented in the company.
Yeah, well, and I think if Ali loses the belt and he goes up to that heavy division, maybe Ace and Bay can go back competing for the X Division title. And then, I mean, both of them have had like premium, like TNA Plus special main events for the world title, but they've never really been serious challengers. Like trivia note, Ace Austin was challenged Christian Cage for the TNA Championship. When Christian Cage defeated Omega, he came over and he immediately defended it against Ace Austin back in the day. So they clearly see something in the guy, and they're both signed to this company for a long time. It's time to give them an opportunity at the top, I think.
They're both young, too.
Yeah.
You have young stars. Push them. Can't stress that enough.
Yeah. Hold on. Alter the Squirrel says the system is going to win. Then MCMG pops out, and y'all can laugh, but I'm calling it. Well, that is quite the prediction, because I'm pretty sure the Motor City Machine Guns are heading to WWE. So,
which is crazy, by the way.
Yeah, I thought they were AEW bound, but Sean Ross Sapp saying he didn't think that's the case. And they've been doing kind of an independent farewell tour, so that just tells me they're going back to WWE. Or not back, they've never been there. They're going to debut. Alex Shelley had a couple of matches, but the Machine Guns have never been there together.
Can you imagine it? Motor City Machine Guns versus the Rascals on NXT television?
Yeah. Well, you know what? What's his name? Ben Carter and Axiom. I think that would be pretty.
Oh, that'd actually be fantastic.
Yeah. And I think you're right. Yeah, I think Gallus is pretty good. But other than that, yeah, they don't really. The Chase U guys. I think the Chase U guys are pretty good too.
They had a good match
I just can't remember their names.
Yeah. Nope. Got nothing.
Yeah, can't do it. All right, we're almost done here. On the pre-show, we got Zaya Brookside, Giselle Shaw, or Zaya versus Giselle versus Tasha Steelz versus the returning Fabi Apache from she used to be AAA. I think she's a free agent now, but
that's
Fabi
crazy.
Apache coming to TNA.
I saw that match pop up on my feed today. I was like, what? Wait, hold on. Fabi Apache. I haven't heard her name forever. Yeah. Giselle Shaw should win.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, she's the one that's getting kind of like a somewhat of a push. So yeah, that makes total sense. Then we got the Rascals with Wes Lee versus the No Quarter Catch crew. What you think here?
Rascals.
Yeah, all the way Rascals. I don't think you can defeat the Rascals at this point. And then probably the sleeper match of the night, the one that everybody's going to go home talking about. Matt Hardy versus JDC, baby. Who do we got?
I did do it. I thought you were talking about the other match that I'm looking at here. So I did the Matt Hardy joke, and you just oh yeah, Matt Hardy, I guess.
Yeah.
Jeff got knocked out, right?
Yeah. Jeff Hardy is injured and will not be able to cross the border into Canada only because of his injury, not because of his drug trafficking arrests and his DUI arrests and all that stuff. But I think this match just shouldn't happen. I think they should just cancel the match. But
it seems really.
And I'm not a guy that hates Matt Hardy, by the way. I happen to like Matt Hardy. He entertains me. Look, hey, IO Productions. I'm not done yet, dude. He's telling me the other two matches that I missed. They're on my list, bro. I promise. All right. Mike Santana versus Jake something. I think this will be a hell of a match if they let him do something. But
I thought Mike Santana was a great TNA signing.
Yes.
And I think
he's been fantastic.
I think he's been great. And I think Jake something. When Jake something left TNA, I said, why? Why is he gone? He was a perfect part of TNA. He's a guy that's really good. These two should have, hell of a match. If there's a legitimate dark horse match of the night, I think it's this one.
I think it's this one too, especially if Jake something's going to turn heel, which they've been teasing for a while. It'd be pretty interesting to see him go heel. I think Santana's got to get the victory because he's the star of the two, and he's the one that they're pushing. I think there's a reason why he's not in that main event match. Is because they want him to have a singles match with Moose, and I think he's going to do it on one of the specials. So,
good special match.
Yeah,
good special title match, I should say.
Yeah, and last but not least, we got New Japan legend Kushida versus the great Gresham, Jonathan Gresham, who leaks ink out of his hands, and now Kushida is spitting ink. By the way, so, but that's on the pre-show. So
it's a choice. It's a gimmick, so I can't hate it, I guess.
It pisses me off that Gresham is such a good wrestler, and then I very much think this is his idea. I think this is all him, and he's trying something, and it just isn't working, dude. It just isn't working.
No, the day that he goes back to being a wrestler will be great.
Yeah, but he is I think because he's the guy with the character, I think he's gonna get the victory here.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, guys. Well, man, we did a marathon show here, an hour and 34 minutes. Scott E Wrestling, I really appreciate you being here, man. Why don't you go ahead and give us one more plug, and then we will call it quits.
Yeah, you follow me at Scott E Wrestling on Twitter if you feel like it. Most of my stuff is just Joshi now, but I do watch and talk about other things as well. So go follow me there. And like I said earlier, 5-star Joshi show over on the Fight Game Media Network. If you're into Joshi, you want to get into Joshi, it's a good show to do that.
Yep, absolutely. And this weekend, I will be back with a double dose of Brace for Impact. So I'll be doing my usual Saturday morning show where I'll be live on the Patreon, and that show is not going to get released anywhere. So it'll just be live on the Patreon, and I'm not clipping it for YouTube or nothing like that. So come join me this Saturday morning, and we will chop it up, and we'll answer all your TNA questions, and we'll talk about tonight's episode that I have yet to watch, but I will watch probably tonight or tomorrow night. And then on Sunday, I will be reviewing the Slammiversary pay-per-view from Saturday night. I will not be able to go live after Slammiversary because I have a family obligation, so I'm going to push that back a day, and I will be live on the Mike and JD Show YouTube channel as well as Patreon. You can get the whole thing there on those two platforms Sunday night, and I will be breaking it down, and I will be wearing my Big Con t-shirt that I designed myself and I sold to myself. I will be wearing that show because I lost the bet, and I said that TNA could not get 3,000 people for Slammiversary, and those sons of bitches got 4,000, and I deserve this pain. Ooh. But I will gleefully, because I'm happy for the company, I will be wearing that t-shirt.
I have one more question to ask you before you wrap up, because I meant to. Name one surprise for Slammiversary.
Oh, yes. You know what? We didn't even get into that. One surprise. Well, I mean, for me, like the only surprise, I think we talked about it a little bit, but the only surprise that matters for me would be if they got AJ Styles on the show somehow.
Of course.
So upper tier AJ Styles, like probably non-realistic tier AJ Styles, Natty Neidhart, I think would be cool because they've been teasing Natty. Realistic tier. I don't even want to say the man's name because it'll make too many people happy. But I will just, I mean, he's got to come, right? Like, yeah. Okay, Jinder Mahal. I think like realistic tier, we're probably looking at Jinder, right? I mean, like he's got to be there.
I would be shocked if he wasn't, truthfully.
Yeah.
I'd be absolutely blown away if he doesn't show up on this show. Face to face with, I can't even think of a match that even spark him face to face with PCO. There you go. Him
face to face with PCO, or him face to face with Matt Hardy. There you go. Oh, hold on, King.
There you go.
Hold on, King. He just said something cool, man. I don't know if this is true, brother. If this is true, please tag me. Please. Oh, he said that's my unrealistic want. Okay, sorry. I'm not gonna say it then. I thought he was breaking some news here because that was gonna warm my heart. I'm friends with Joe Doring on Facebook, so him appearing on the show would be a big deal to me because I happen to be a big fan of his. So, but yeah, you know what? Yeah, realistically, probably Jinder Mahal, somebody like that. That level.
I'll throw out one that you haven't said. Trevor Lee, the former Cameron Grimes.
You know what? He won't be available. His contract doesn't expire till next week. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he has one more week left on it. But I
trying to give you a talented guy.
He's a very talented. Yeah, he's a very talented guy. I can see him being in TNA, but I think he's also a guy that AEW would probably want for like Ring of Honor.
Yeah, if they cared. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. Well, hey, that's going to do it for us on this week. I really appreciate Scotty. This is one of the longest episodes we've done in a long time, man. So I appreciate you holding strong with me. I know it's really late where you're at, so I do appreciate it. All right, everybody in the chat. We'll talk to you again next week. And until next time, mahalo.